Well, let's take a
Pleasure.
look at the structural transformation we're seeing in the Kenyan economy and which sectors are guiding growth at the moment.
The main sector which guide growth are construction and service sectors. And what is interesting, if you look at the structural transformation of Kenya's economy, agriculture does decline, as you would expect from a developing, emerging economy, but the sector that has not yet picked up is manufacturing for many reasons. And it's the slack, the dynamism comes from Kenya's service sector.
Well, that is interesting, seeing that service sector growth coming through. It's taking center stage and really in line with developing economies. It suggests that the Kenyan economy is going in the right direction. Is it a sustainable trend, though? Because, as you say, that manufacturing sector is still going through a period of stagnation.
This is a very good question, Alicia, and I think the broad jury is out. The bigger question for Kenya is, would they follow more an Indian growth model? And when we all went to school, India was considered one of the poorest and difficult places to do business and to reduce poverty, and now it has segments that are booming, mainly based on services, but now manufacturing is picking up. Or a more Chinese-led model, which Kenya has not yet focused on manufacturing. Most economists and most World Bank economists would agree you need to have some degree of a strong manufacturing sector if you want to absorb the increasing number of youth and the increasing population that enter the market every year, and that's 1 million people.
This is important to take into consideration by government, by lending institutions within the country as well, to stimulate some kind of growth moving forward. Because if you look at it, while yes, we are expecting to see growth out of Kenya this year, it's growing below the population rate. So we're actually looking at an economy for now that is pretty much standing still, right?
That's absolutely correct, Alicia. If you look over the last decade or longer term trends, Kenya has been growing 3.7%. That's strong compared to its previous decade's performance, but it's much lower than what its potential is and what some of its neighbors have been growing. So if you don't get the agriculture and the manufacturing into higher gear, to the similar levels that the service economy is, then you would not see the very high growth rates the Kenyan government has established as its benchmark at the Vision 2030 document.
Yet, Wolfgang, we've got a trend that remains where Kenya is not an aid-dependent country. Its strength on the strength of the recovery has instead been based on in-house capabilities, if we can call it that. But it's growing below potential, as you say. Does this necessitate a rethink on foreign aid to actually restart the economy and get it into gear?
No, thank you for raising that, Alicia. I think there's two sets of issues. One is the role of aid, and the other is more macro versus microeconomics. It is very important for international partners to realize that they're not running the countries they're working in. We are partners. Our projects are Kenyan projects led by the government of Kenya, and we want to leverage ourselves, our global expertise and our local networks into the Kenyan institutions. And although the World Bank is the largest international partner here, we are a very small share of the government's budget, which brings me to the second point. Kenya has a strong reputation of macroeconomic policies, particularly over the last few years. And it's on that strength that it has not needed debt relief and doesn't have created this aid dependency that other African countries are affected by. And so that is a recognition that strong macro policies that can't be overemphasized. It's the micro policies, it's the functioning of the ports, of the railways, of the roads, of the power sector, which have been the Achilles heel, and what we hope can help Kenya to improve on those key microeconomic areas.
Well, we certainly have seen this commitment from the World Bank in terms of committed funds. It's actually the stats that show the dispersed balance has shot up, though, or undispersed balance has shot up. So hopefully at another time, when we have more time, Wolfgang, we'll be able to get into some of the bottlenecks that persist in actually getting those disbursements through. Thanks.